Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We've got Nate Slutsky on the line. He has been on the staff at Colorado, Fordham, and also Rutgers over the past 10 years for those college football programs. He's right now with Verified Athletics. Nate, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate that. In regards to your background, let's get started there. Would like to know more about your experience at a couple Power 5 programs in particular. Of course, Fordham brought us Joe Moorhead more famously in the last 5 or 10 years. So your background and your experiences.
Yeah, well, started actually working for the University of Colorado as a student, as an assistant on the team, and then that kind of jump-started my football coaching career. It took me a couple years to coach at a Division III school, which was a great experience to see at that level, and then jumped right there to Rutgers as well. And then, as you mentioned, I worked with Joe and some other coaches at Fordham, and then he went to Penn State, and now he's at Mississippi State. And so it's been a whirlwind, and coaching is a awesome profession. You get a chance to really interact with amazing young people that are working so hard, know how to really work towards goals and get them and work as a team and be there to help build and shape those young men. So it's really been a rewarding career.
Yeah, in regards to what we ask these student athletes to do, not just in season, but over the past several decades, it's become a year-long schedule for the most part, is pretty amazing. What do you think? Is there anything that comes to mind in regards to maybe what the general public, the standard college football fan, doesn't know or would be surprised in regards to schedule preparation, dedication, really anything that goes into what these student athletes encounter?
I think based on my interactions with a lot of college football fans, I think that they really underestimate really the academic requirements of these athletes. I think in a lot of people's heads, they think that they're just there to play football and they're not really going to school, or they're not, they're just getting easy classes and easy grades, but that's really not true. In many cases, these athletes are having to work harder than most of the regular students because they have their outside commitment. But also most of these athletes are coming to these schools with a little bit less of an academic preparation as the general student body. So they're in classes with students that are more well prepared and have way more time, and they have to compete. And if they don't, then they're not going to last. And I think that is probably the thing that most people don't recognize and realize.
Yeah, and I think what we do, and this happens in a number of arenas out there, is that we take the stories that surface and become big stories in regards to whether it's just outright cheating, cutting corners, special privileges and benefits given to athletes academically to get them through, and we blow that out to 130 FBS programs. We've got 85 on scholarship plus more. You're talking about tens of thousands of college football players at that level even, and 99% of them have to toe the line and do all the right things to be eligible. And I think we blow out of proportion the cases that it's very serious and it needs to be cleaned up. And those things do happen. Certainly, there is cheating out there to keep these kids eligible in spots. But the mass of these student athletes really need to hit the mark to stay eligible.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that shocking. Out of 10,000 people, that there's some cheaters and some people trying to get away with things. That's true whether you're talking about football players or any sport or non-athletes. Most people that went to college know probably 20 to 100 people well enough, and I bet they know a handful of people that cheated on stuff. That is just life. People are going to try to get away with things, and when you're an athlete and you get caught, it's national news, and when you're just another guy, it's a slap on the wrist and you're into the next class, or you do it enough times and you're out of school, but no one knows except for your family. So I think it's just it's a media attention thing, I think, as you pointed out.
We've got Nate Slutsky on the line from Verified Athletics. Nate has served as an assistant on the staffs at Colorado, Fordham, and at Rutgers. Rutgers, obviously, moving to the Big Ten over the past 5 or 6 years. Colorado in the Big 12 as well. Then Fordham. In working in those three programs, did you see a significant difference? And what would those differences be between a Power 5 program operating at that level and a Fordham?
Sure. I think there's quite a few differences. One, from just an athlete standpoint, you're talking about guys that are bigger, faster, stronger. They are, just more prepared, for big time college football. And then the other major differences that you're going to see are the size of the staffs. A staff at Fordham University probably has about, the amount of actual technical football coaches is really about the same 10, 11, 12 in that range. And, but then, like on a Fordham staff, you might have an additional 10 or so people that are pretty dedicated to what's going on in the football program. At a school like Rutgers or Colorado, that number probably blows up to 100. So like that support staff. So the quality of the strength and conditioning, having an on-site nutritionist, having a ton of academic advising and help, it's a totally different level. People that are planning travel and team meals. So everything is a lot more buttoned up, tightened up at a major program, because you just got a lot more hands on to take care of all of the details.
Got Nate Slesky on the line from Verified Athletics, a former assistant for the staffs at Fordham, Colorado, and Rutgers. Speaking of which, yes, I think your standard college football fan can grasp that if that guy is the linebackers coach, maybe not necessarily what he does to the granular level, but we know that he's responsible for coaching the linebackers. But when you talk about the periphery staff attached and that supports the coaching staff, and some of the positions you had, can you kind of outline your background and what roles you filled?
Sure. I mean, for the most part, I was a coach. I coached linebackers. I coached defensive backs. I spent a lot of my career as a special teams coordinator. So those things are basically, so as a coordinator, you are managing all 11 guys on the field. You're making sure that you're coaching the coaches. You're making sure that like the scheme that is all working together. As a position coach, you're really more responsible for the techniques that players are implementing. You're responsible for being more of like a guiding role model, like mentor type figure to your athletes, and really trying to develop them on a more personal level. And then before that, I worked as a student assistant at the University of Colorado. When I was there, I was helping with recruiting. So, I was like a front line of defense on a lot of, I was front line of defense on getting films to come in. I mean, you're probably getting 100 films a day from high school athletes when you're at a majors program like that. And so trying to filter them through so you get the right athletes into the coach's hands so that they can evaluate the guys that are close to the top. So, but there's just a million jobs to do and in all of these programs.
So you've got this platform running right now, Verified Athletics. Nate, can you tell us about that and what that's all about?
Sure. So I started that really as a reaction to what I experienced as a college football coach. What I saw was that there's a bunch of recruiting services out there. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make money off of athletes and their families because they don't know how the recruiting process works. So they don't know how it works. So they think that they can go to this company and they're going to help them to get a scholarship, which is a false promise. These companies can't do that. All they're trying to do is all they do is they send emails to college coaches that get thrown in the trash, right? That's the same thing that you could do for yourself. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to start the service to try to help to educate high school athletes, high school coaches, parents on how the process works, offer a free service to help them to get in touch with college coaches. But really, like, our customer is college coaches. What they do is they're coming to us. We're trying to get the most accurate and verified information on athletes, from everything from contact information to transcripts to athletic performance, and we're trying to help make good matches between athletes and college programs, and the college programs want this information, so there's no reason that the athletes should be paying anyone to filter that information out to the college coaches.
All right, Nate Slutsky from Verified Athletics, former coach at Fordham, Colorado, and at Rutgers as a special assistant as well. Nate, when you look at, I know you're entrenched in what you're doing right there and helping the student athletes coming out of high school, but when you look at the scope of college football, I'll just make it very open-ended in regards to your thoughts coming up this season, what you saw last season, where we're headed, what you would like to change, what do you think works, why it's such a great game. Hey, I'll leave it wide open for you.
Well, there's a lot to that. Gosh, the way I see it changing, every season you're going to see more and more safety precautions, I think, coming into play. I think they're doing a great job of working hard to change what the sport looks like for college athletes. I think college athletes have changed a lot. I remember at the beginning of my career, if you played, like, every year you get a tape from the referees that say these are all the rule changes, and they're usually highlighting the type of hits that they're saying don't do these anymore. Beginning of my career, 10 years ago, athletes would watch those tapes and they would be like fired up. They would be like, "Oh, check out that hit. That was awesome." But I know by the end of my career, now you see athletes looking at it and they're like, covering up their mouths. They're like, just like a little bit more shocked. They're reacting to it in a way that makes you think that athletes are really recognizing that football is a dangerous game, and that athletes could still choose to play it and they love it and they're excited about it. But I think that helps them to make better decisions about what it is that they want. You see more athletes every year making the decision that it's not for them. And that's totally fine as long as it's still for the people that want it and for the fans that want it. And, I think fans should do their part to help to encourage athletes to take care of themselves, take care of their bodies. These are the guys that are the gladiators that are going out there and entertaining. So I think that I see the game changing in that direction. I see interesting developments. I'm curious on what's going to happen with, right now, I think in college football, you have 120 teams playing FBS football, but really there's only a handful of them that are ever in contention for a national championship. And it's kind of set up in a way where only a few of them realistically could even compete for it. And so is there a better world where there's more separation of divisions in college sports, and particularly in football? Football is the one that has at least one separation at the Division I level between FBS and FCS programs, but maybe there's room for more. And I think that could be in the future of college football as well.
All right, Nate Slutsky from Verified Athletics. And Nate, we appreciate you stopping by and giving us some insight and information into what you're all about and what you've done, and a peek behind the curtain.
Well, great. Well, thanks for having me, and I'll happy to do that anytime.